I suspect some of these, if not all of them, are familiar to you. Very natural. When you think about how the brain works, when we talk about how our beliefs work, these are all very normal human behaviors. So this is not you being broken if you recognize that you fall into these pitfalls. It's recognizing that these can happen and will happen. The more we are intentional about how we show up, the more we are intentional about how we want to show up and the habits and behaviors we want to have, the less likely these are to happen, the more likely we are going to catch them and be able to make those changes when we need to before it becomes a problem. Perfection paralysis, waiting till it's perfect, is going to keep you stuck. Waiting until this happens, or waiting for this information to come in, or waiting until something feels good or you feel confident enough. When you wait, you stay stuck. So actually that movement forward, starting messy, starting before you feel confident, practice taking those steps. Once we step into something, the brain just taps into a different part of us and we start to take action. It feels very different. So don't wait for perfect. Don't wait for confidence. Don't wait for what you think you need to wait for. Quite often we need to do it before we're ready. Inconsistent action. This is when we have that sporadic progress, it creates that self-doubt because we will attach consistency with the ability, capability. But often the reason why we're inconsistent is because we have gone too big. So it's not sustainable, or we haven't looked at the reality. So we've gone with what we want to do. We've gone through the will rather than actually what is possible. So we set ourselves up for failure. We set ourselves up for inconsistency rather than setting ourselves up with something that we can be consistent with. That consistency around the action is really important. You need to make sure that when you are thinking about the actions, the habits, the behaviors that you want to have, that you can see how you can be consistent with them over a sustainable period of time, not just for a short period of time or a short number of days. Chronic overwork. This is something we see a lot in people that are successful, those high achievers, because putting the work in is what's helped us to be successful. And so our brain recognizes that if we just do that little bit more, if we just go that little bit harder, then often we can overcome whatever the challenge is. But actually doing more is not always the solution. Sometimes we need to take that step back and we need to look at how we might do something differently, how we might approach it differently. Sometimes less is more. I know that something that I tend to do is I think, okay, if I want to add value, I need to put more into it. But actually, sometimes when I put more into it, it creates overwhelm. So I have to be very aware that actually overdoing it is not always the bonus that I think it is. Adding more is not always the bonus that I think it is. Sometimes that creates a different challenge. Output is not the only measure of success. And when we talk about aligned success, we need to make sure that we are very clear on how we are measuring success so that we know when we've achieved it. If we know that we have a certain goal, we need to be very clear about the goal so that we know when we've got there, we know when we've achieved it. If we're not clear on what good looks like and we're not clear what success looks like, we're never going to know that we've got there. So which of these traps do you find yourself falling into? Is there one that jumped out on you as soon as I brought the slide up on the page? Maybe there's some that resonate with you, that are just understanding where you can perhaps try something a little bit different for a different result. Yeah, perfection paralysis is very, very common, very common. And a lot of people will tell you perfect doesn't exist. And most of us actually probably recognize that perfect doesn't exist. And quite often that holds us in that position that we're in, rather than taking that step forward. And we could always aim for perfection. We can't wait for perfection.